I don't know how hard it is going to be for me to film this video because I'm so angry. Like, I'm so frustrated. I'm reading the comments under the post about Cassie on the stand today at the Diddy trial, and I'm just like, either y'all are dumb as hell, or your man is knocking you between the washer and the dryer and you're making excuses for him, because the way that people are going up to bat for Diddy behind Cassie and saying she's complicit and blah, blah, blah. It's clear that you either don't understand how abuse works and don't want to understand how abuse works, or you're getting your head split open on the weekends. That's it. That's it. Because there's no way you could hear what she's saying or see the transcripts from the people that are, you know, reporting on it live from the courtroom and still get on Al Gore's internet and say the things that they are saying. I'm beside myself. But let's get into this video. You guys know me by now. Yes, this is a B with a T, but I'm gonna come at you guys from an educational standpoint, because clearly it's some ignorant people in the world that, you know, need to be educated on how these things work. Now, if you've not seen abuse up close or not experienced it, sometimes you just don't realize what it looks like or what it can look like. With Cassie's situation, it is more on the extreme side, and we are going to get into that. You guys know I'm busting out the power and control wheel, but before I get into that, let's talk about a few other things, and then we will talk about Diddy. I'm sure this is going to be a very long video. The first thing I wanted to briefly talk about was the fact that they done stabbed Tory Lanez 14 times in prison. Girl, what the hell? Was I shocked? Absolutely. Only because I feel like celebs usually are in like PC, protective custody, when they go to prison. Why the hell was he even in the vicinity to get stabbed 14 times? And this is not no normal stabbing, baby. They tried to take him out. Like, they literally tried to take him up out of here, because 14 times. And what's so crazy is, like, the last week and the week before, we kept seeing these prison pictures of him. And when I was seeing the pictures of him posted up with the other people in the prison, I had this thought where I'm like, oh, he's all right in there. Like, you know, like, not to say he making friends in there, but you might as well make yourself at home, you know what I mean? I'm seeing these pictures of him, I keep seeing the pictures of him with these big guys, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's getting along in there just fine. Come to find out that he got really hurt. And so Tory Lanez's personal page posted and said Tory was stabbed 14 times, including 7 wounds to his back, 4 to his torso, 2 to the back of his head, and 1 to the left side of his face. Baby, they were trying to kill him. Like, I don't know if somebody was trying to humble him in there. I don't know if somebody was paid to do that. Failed. You not getting your commissary, sir. Whoever you were that was supposed to take out this man, you're not getting your commissary. I'm like, is he supposed to, is he getting called to as a witness in Diddy trial? Like, why would somebody want to kill Tory Lanez in the prison? It's like just so crazy to me. So this was probably one of the first times I was genuinely shocked at something regarding Tory Lanez in the last 5 years. I mean, Pooh Shiesty, YFN Lucci, like, all these people go to jail, go to prison, and we do not hear stories about them getting hocked up. Like, that's crazy. The post also said both of his lungs collapsed and he was placed on a breathing apparatus. He is now breathing on his own. Despite being in pain, he is talking normally, in good spirits, and deeply thankful to God that he is pulling through. He also wants to thank everyone for their continued prayers and support. And so, of course, the comments are mixed. I don't really know why, but they are. So I'm seeing some comments under posts regarding the stabbing that he deserves it. I'm seeing other bringing up Meg, like, maybe what's she got to do with this? Like, I'm confused. And then, of course, there are, you know, the posts that are saying he shouldn't even be in there to begin with, and, you know, that's messed up. He shouldn't be in the hospital right now, and they're blaming Megan and all kinds of stuff. So all in all, this is just a crazy story, and yesterday was really eventful. Like, that was an eventful Monday because, of course, Diddy's trial started. But, prayers up for Tory. Clearly, it's not his time to go. And that's one thing people need to understand. When it's not your time to go, it's just not your time to go. I know that Tory comes from, a religious or spiritual background. His father is a pastor. He grew up in the church, those things of that nature. I know that he is a God-fearing man, so to speak. That's what he puts out there, right? And so I don't know if he's favored by the Lord, why he was stabbed 14 times and is not dead. But these are things that happen. When it's not your time to go, it's just not your time to go. And nobody can take you up out of here if it's not your time to go. So you might be in a lot of pain. Okay, you might suffer a little bit. But if it's not your time to go, it's not your time to go. It's the same thing with 50 Cent. He was shot 9 times. And the man is walking around free and successful as ever. Like, whoever tried to kill 50 Cent must be punched in the air every single day. Like, damn, I didn't get to take him out. Well, it wasn't his time to go. So, prayers for Tory. I don't think anybody should be randomly attacked and stabbed and hurt. He's already in there serving his time for the Megan Thee Stallion incident. So I think that that's what his punishment should be. I don't think that he should be murdered while in prison. Like, that would just be a crazy story, But I also feel like, in a sense, this would be sort of traumatic for even Megan, because she could possibly feel guilt even though she shouldn't. And don't come in here arguing with me, because I know there are people that are like, he's innocent, right? And she should feel guilty. No. Whatever happened between them happened. And, now he's in there serving his time for that. Or for having an unregistered firearm when he ain't got no business having an unregistered firearm. You know what I mean? He's in jail for possession and whatever. That has nothing to do with Megan, so to speak. But why she would feel guilt is because if she's a pure-hearted person, it's not going to be her MO for Tory to be in prison and get hurt, and then she's feeling like it's her fault because, that situation happened. But she shouldn't feel that way. And so, but there are people actively saying it's her fault. And so if she's on the internet right now and seeing that, or people are texting her phone or whatever it is, like, I think she's had to put up with a lot over the last few years. And I don't think that that's fair all the way around the board. I can't see her not feeling something hearing that he's been stabbed, right? I don't think she's wishing that he's dead. So it would probably be, reliving her own trauma all over again, because the person that is in jail or prison for shooting her or shooting at her is now in hospital in critical condition. Like, I don't know if her brain is like karma or is like, oh damn, that sucks, Megan doesn't seem like that type of person that would be like rejoicing over the fact that he's stabbed up and 14 times and trying to recover. Yeah, I can't see that being the case, but I could definitely see her being or feeling some kind of emotion towards the situation.
So this man is allegedly the attacker. His name is Santino Cassio. He's 42 years old, but he's done this before. His previous charges are crazy. And this is a little excerpt I got from a post by the Jamaica Gleaner. So this man is not new to this. He true to this. This is who he is. And it really does appear to be a random attack.
The next thing that I wanted to talk about was Denise Bideau. I'm not really sure how to say her last name, but Lil Wayne's girlfriend, long-term girlfriend. This is the girl that Lil Wayne took from the diner. And I said took like she was kidnapped. But like, this is the girl that years ago Lil Wayne met. She was a waitress, and he literally made her his girlfriend, and she went with him and has been with him ever since. So over the years, of course, they've been boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm pretty sure they've been engaged. But on Mother's Day, he kicked her out of their shared residence. I don't know if her name is on deed of the house, but this is her shared residence, and I believe she was stating that her daughter also lives in that residence. She put out a video on her story saying that he kicks her out on Mother's Day with her child, and he has 2 girls flying in, and she alleged things against Lil Wayne. And I said, oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. Now, Lil Wayne does not get a lot of bad press per se where women are concerned. We know he loves women. Like, by listening to his music, his lyrics, he's, you know, he's an interesting guy. But from his experiences with other women, like in the past, we don't really hear bad things, so to speak, about him. Like from Toya to Lauren London, Nivea, like his baby mothers, they don't really say anything negative, so to speak, about him. They really all love him. I don't know, I can't remember Nivea's story, if she's ever claimed, you know, anything bad against him, but she's also in the industry, so like some people don't say things, which we obviously know that that's a thing. So I don't know what their full stories are, but from what I understand, most of his baby mothers love him down. For people that are not his baby mother, like J-Lo for instance, they just say how respectful Lil Wayne is when you're working with him, and he's so professional and sweet, and he's like, yes ma'am, no ma'am, like very southern, and they're usually taken aback by it. On the other side of that, because we see Reginae always taken up for her daddy, on the other side of that, Lil Wayne, despite being the hip-hop genius that he is, lyrical beast, there's this side of him that makes us, especially as black women, roll our eyes, because we can't take away what he's done for hip-hop at all. Like, Lil Wayne is that guy in terms of the music. When he says things, I say, you need to stop smoking, you need to stop doing drugs. Because he says things that are just outlandish, like the racism thing and not believing in it because a white man is the one that saved his life when he was shot when he was a child, you know, like he doesn't believe in racism. Like Lil Wayne literally lives in his own world, and his daughter tries to take up for him and say that to us all the time. Anytime he says something out of pocket, but like on more than one occasion, Lil Wayne has made it very clear he's giving Uncle Ruckus vibes, and so I think some black people definitely have stepped away. They might still listen to his old music because his new music's definitely not hitting like the old music did, but they're not necessarily fans of Lil Wayne the person. Oh, and then of course with the whole Super Bowl situation and him dragging it, like that didn't add to, you know, people's opinions about Lil Wayne either. However, that being said, him kicking out his long-term person, girlfriend, fiance, whatever, was definitely shocking. And then the allegations against him that she also spoke out, and she said she's gonna get a lawyer and all these things. I said, child, is Lil Wayne the next black man that's going to trial? Because, or are they gonna settle quietly? Which probably is what Denise is gonna look for. It looks like her career is kind of picking up. She's supposed to do Sports Illustrated. She said she just had surgery. Like, he's kicking her out at a really crazy time, and to kick her out on Mother's Day is also really wild. But based on, you know, the facts presented, we don't really know Denise personally, so I'm not saying like, you know, she must have done something to make Lil Wayne kick her out of his house with her child, or did he feel like she was mooching, but like she literally was minding her business when he told her to come and be with him, and she went. Obviously, if you're working at a diner and a rapper says to you, come and be my girlfriend, baby, you probably getting on the plane too. Like, let's keep it a bean. You're probably getting on the plane. Now, especially if you're young, if you're in your 20s, you're like, girl, how long has she been working at the diner for? I don't know, but like, especially if you're really young and a rapper takes interest in you, you're probably gonna get on the plane to get as much out of it as you possibly can. And it's a plus, obviously, if you're already attracted to them. This is a dream, right? Like, this is a freaking dream. Like, am I in the Twilight Zone, you know? Like, that's the mindset of a 20-something-year-old. Now, if I'm working at a diner at my big age, right? Like, if I'm 33 and I go and I'm working at a diner and, you know, somebody rich and attractive is like, come and be my girlfriend. I quit your job today, be my girlfriend. First of all, I'm going to be like, excuse me? Now I'm going to get on the plane. But, like, I'm going to be making sure I have my Vex money. That's the problem. You girls are going with these men, these rich men, and you not coming with the Vex money. You need the Bex money. Because if anything should go wrong, you need your escape plan. Okay? You're going in these things unprepared, and that's really the thing. Now, she's been with him long enough. She should have Bex money saved. Like, the amount of gifts he's probably given her, the amount of things that he's probably given to her, if he's not snatching them back, which he shouldn't be, because gifts are gifts. She should have definitely saved something, put aside. She should have some kind of side hustle. She shouldn't have just been living off of him. But, like, if you read the Forbes article about people, celebrities that took out the PPP loans and did not allocate the funds properly, Lil Wayne was on that list, and it showed what he was spending his money on. And women was the least of the expenses, okay? He bought a lot of clothes and other things of that nature, but he didn't spend a lot of money on women, though he did spend some of it on women. Either way, the PPP loan was not for women or for personal items. That being said, where his lady is concerned, or ex-lady at this point, I think that it's important for women to know when to throw in the towel. Like, if you're on and off, maybe just turn it off. I always say this, just turn it off. You cannot go back and forth with the same man for 30 odd years. Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So I'm not surprised that they broke up or are broken up, because Lil Wayne is a known womanizer. It's just like, how much are you willing to put up with? Now, she's grown up since she's been with him. So, you know, she probably does look at things a little differently now than she did before when she first got with him. She was probably willing to put up with a lot of things before because the lifestyle. But now that he's kicked her out and they didn't break up on amicable terms, of course she's going to seek revenge. Of course she's going to put out her allegations, and God help him if she has proof. If he's ever blacked her eye, because I'm pretty sure she said he's been physical in her allegations. If she has proof of these occasions or text messages between them that he's admitting to these things, and she just didn't say anything before because, you know, he gave her the hush money at the time, or he apologized but then repeated the act, well, he's going to be in trouble. So they're either going to have to settle this outside of court and not drag it like Cassie and Diddy, because the minute that she speaks up and says, this is the case, do you know what's going to happen? Domino effect. Women are going to come out of the woodworks and say, me too. Lil Wayne did X, Y, and Z to me too. I was here. I was in Barcelona. I was in New York. I was in Louisiana with him on this day. And this is what he did. And these are my claims. And this is my proof. And then before you know it, the feds is raiding his crib. That's what's going to happen. Just one person has to be brave enough to say, Lil Wayne did this. And boom, 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 boom. Allegation after allegation. And Denise opening her mouth to even say he did this. Oh, baby, if you don't think anybody else is coming, you're smoking or you're joking, okay? There's going to be quiet settlements and there's going to be trials, probably. So I'm staying tuned for that. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not. As I've gotten older, I've come to accept that the worst thing that the rappers are doing to women is not cheating. That's what I've learned over the last few years. I think that's a Hollywood thing in general. The worst thing that these men are doing is not cheating. I used to think that athletes and rappers, like, if you're going to be a basketball wife or whatever, like, it's a part of the territory. Your man is going to have temptation there all the time, and you got to have a strong cat to deal with that, okay? And, you know, especially the married ones, they're not giving up their fortune. They're not giving up that retirement, whatever it is after the fact. They're not giving it up. They want the half or the whole. They're not going to be like, I'm divorcing this man. They're going to put up with it for a long time because they want that alimony. And I don't blame them, because I'm leaving here with something. But for the long-term girlfriends that are not only getting cheated on, but getting abused, slapped around, choked. Do you know how many people in the industry have almost killed their spouse, but we never hear about it until some crazy event happens, and then there's like home footage getting released? it's a lot. Like, these men are sick and need therapy and they're not going. So, like I said, I'm really not surprised at this Denise Lil Wayne situation, but I think that we need to buckle our seatbelts because since Denise has opened her mouth, despite the fact that she did not yet retain a lawyer and start the process of suing him for whatever or bringing criminal charges against him, I think that more women are going to say, Lil Wayne did this to me in 1999 when he was still very young. So that's that on that. And so since we're talking about abusive men, let's just jump right into trial. As you guys know, I do not necessarily film B with the T often. Every once in a blue moon, I come through with B with the T. Now, the Diddy case is definitely a case that I started reporting on last year, but my channel is not necessarily a channel for that type of content, so I don't always come with every single update because I can't. I'm doing a million things. I have a life outside of YouTube and, I have other things doing, so I can't just, come and talk to you guys all the time about things that are happening in social media because that's not the niche of this channel. However, my algorithm loves court talk, so I'm sure that this is going to pop up on your feed because it is about trial. So if you did not know or if you live under a rock, Diddy's trial has started. There were a few delays at first, but they definitely got their jury selected. It's a jury of mainly men and a few women, and the first witnesses have taken the stand. Now, there's no cameras. I really wish there was, because baby, we would be watching this, okay? Like, I would be tuned in, watching this live and direct, but that's not the case with this trial. It is a federal trial, so there's no cameras allowed in the courtroom. However, there are sketches. There's multiple sketch artists. I've watched a few videos from people that are actually in New York sitting in on the trials each day and all the things that they're witnessing, but it is hard to get in there because everybody wants to get in there, right? So there's a lot of different reporters from here, there, and everywhere. This is the story of the century, really, to be going to court and being able to report on, and obviously I can't do that, so I'm not going to sit here and report on everything else that everybody else is already reporting on. But I did want to talk about the abuse side of things because the first part of this trial has focused a lot on the Cassie incident from the hotel and that relationship. But what people don't seem to understand is that when a court case is being presented, the prosecution has to be able to build up to the main event. You know what I mean? They have to tell a story. They're basically trying to paint a picture of Diddy's character. And so the prosecution is going to paint this picture. It is just grand storytelling. And then the defense is going to come in and try to debunk the story that is presented because the prosecution has the burden of proof, right? They have to prove that Diddy is guilty. Whereas the defense doesn't have to prove that Diddy is innocent. They just have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt everything that the prosecution is saying is not as it seems, right? So they just have to create doubt. That little bit of doubt is enough to let Diddy walk free. That is why jury selection is so important, and that is why they spent so much time on jury selection. Day one of trial, the male escort and the officer, who I believe at the time was only a security guard, those were the first two people to take the stand, and they were referring to the incident with Cassie and Diddy at the hotel. Now, a lot of people are like, well, clearly they don't have anything because all they have is this hotel tape. We all seen it already, blah, 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 blah. They're trying to throw spaghetti at the wall and make it stick. But it's literally only day two. We don't know what else they have, right? We don't know what was on the hard drives that they raided and took from the house. Like, we don't know all those things. But we are going to find out because this trial is actually scheduled to go on for a while. So I would have to assume they don't just have the tapes from the hotel. Now, yesterday when I was reading all that happened at court on the first day, of course, automatically I'm gonna go into the comment section and see what people are saying, and I was truly aghast. Okay, I was beside myself about how people, especially women, were responding to what was being said on stand by not only the male escort, which is named Daniel Phillip, but also the security guard from the hotel as well. And his name was Israel Flores. And so my takeaways from Israel Flores' testimony was that he did not do his job. Okay, so from the looks of it, he was not an LAPD officer at the time. In 2016, he was just a security guard at the hotel, and it looks like he later became a police officer, unless he was doing both. I'm not sure. It's very unclear to me. That's irrelevant though. When I was reading his testimony, I said, sir, you did not do your job. So he said he was following up about a woman in distress on the 6th floor of the hotel. The woman obviously was Cassie. Because Cassie and Diddy were arguing back and forth, Israel Flores told them they need to go back to their room. So to me, this is red flag number 1. Are you securing the place or not? You can't just tell them go back to their room. If they're arguing and causing that much of a disturbance, I think other matters need to be handled. Like, you know, I think other things need to be done. You don't just tell them to go back to the room. I think he didn't do enough assessing of the situation at first, but then, okay, fine. He just got there, right? Because Diddy is easily identifiable, he tried to give Israel Flores a stack of money and was pretty much telling him, shut your mouth, you ain't see nothing, mind your business, okay? This is red flag number 2. Israel Flores also says that Cassie just kept reiterating she wanted to leave. And he even stated that Diddy told Cassie she's not leaving. This right here, to me, if the jury is listening, okay, we have a hostage situation. Like, what? Like, if the jury is paying attention to what's going on, this security guard / LAPD officer is literally telling them what happened that day at the hotel. A woman literally tried to leave, and this man was telling her she cannot go. She's not under arrest. He's definitely not no damn cop to be telling her she can't leave. She's not being detained. There's no reason that Diddy should be telling Cassie, you are not leaving, when she says, I just want my phone and I just want to go. That being said, Israel Flores does say that he did not take the money. So I had a sigh of relief at this point, but I still feel like he did not do his job, and I'll tell you why in a moment. When he decided he wasn't going to take the money, he told Diddy, I don't want your money, just go back to your room. No, no, and no. You see, there is a woman here. And this is what really irritated me, because you see there's a woman here that is in distress. You were called about a woman in distress. You see that call was not a false alarm. There's a woman in distress. You hear her saying she wants to leave. Your job is to escort her out of that room to safety. Whether she says she's not leaving, she's saying she wants to leave, and you said, okay, let me help you leave then. And tell him, if you don't allow her to leave, I'm going to have to call the police. That is how you secure. You're in the wrong profession. Wrong profession. If you can't even do the simplest task of saving a woman that is clearly in distress. You weren't called there because they ordered room service, sir. Like, this pissed me off so bad, because I'm like, sir, you literally left the woman there. Like, what? Diddy, probably under the influence, not sure, accused Israel Flores of recording him. And so at this point, Israel Flores pinned Diddy to the wall. I said, oh, so you big, strong man, you can pin this man to the wall, but still did not escort Cassie out of the room and say, I cannot leave this woman here with you because clearly you are going to hurt her or harm her when she's saying she wants to leave. Like, Diddy might as well have handcuffed Cassie to the bed at this point, because I'm very confused. They show Israel Flores the video from the hotel, and he actually tells them that he recorded 2 copies of the video because he wanted to show his wife at home. And I'm like, so after you witnessed this footage, you still did not call the police? You still did not go back up to the room and get the girl? You saw him drag her and you still left her there? Or was this footage like after the fact? I'm very confused, because it sounds like it all happened the same night. Literally, somebody getting assaulted that way in a hotel hallway that you work at is not pillow talk. Like, what? I was so mad reading this stuff. I'm like, no. Like, he should have left that part out. I know he's there to testify, but maybe I don't recall what happened. I don't recall. But if they already went through his stuff and realized he had recorded the footage on his phone, I mean, you know, he has to tell the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help him God. But like, to get on the stand and say with your whole chest that you brought the footage home to show your wife, how do you sleep at night? When this man gets cross-examined by Brian Steele, who is Young Thug's lawyer, you know, very popular amongst the black community right now. When Brian Steele cross-examines Israel Flores, he tries to, of course, poke holes in Israel Flores' story, and he, you know, inquires about why he left out certain parts of his testimony. One of them being really important, which was that he offered to call the police or the authorities, but Cassie told him no, or not to. Now, if you know anything about abuse, you would know exactly why Cassie would say don't call the police. And there's more than one reason, but two of the main ones are that, one, these are not normal people. They're high profile. If this were to get out, it would be a PR nightmare in 2016, of course. Because look at it now, PR nightmare. But two, when you call the police on your abuser, they get more abusive. News freaking flash. Okay? They get more abusive. Even if they get arrested for the night, when they have power and money and resources, I mean, hello guys, this happened in 2016. We're not hearing about it until 2024, and we're not seeing it go to trial until 2025. So back then, it would have been probably a lot easier to clean up. And it would have been probably a lot easier to make it look like an isolated incident if they had just gone to the police at the time and, you know, let bygones be bygones, instead of letting that, you know, pressure build for years and years and years to now the top is blown off. Brian Steele also asked why in his, I guess, initial report, he didn't say that Cassie kept like saying she wanted to leave and Diddy wouldn't let her. I guess as a police officer or a security guard, somebody that's keeping account of something, like, you should not leave out any details, because yeah, if it goes to trial, which clearly this thing was going to go to trial, when you're getting cross-examined, they will try to rip you a new one. And I think that that's what they were trying to do. That being said, those details were, you know, kind of minuscule. I don't feel like Israel Flores has a reason to lie on the stand and say stuff that didn't happen or add stuff that did. Like, he doesn't gain anything from Diddy going to jail, and he doesn't lose anything from Diddy going to jail or helping Cassie in this moment. I feel like he probably feels like he didn't do his due diligence, as I'm saying, because he did not. You know, when he had the chance to, he didn't do what he needed to do, and I feel like he's trying to redeem himself now by telling the story exactly how he recalls it, and that's all he can do. That is all he can do. So it's great that he's on the stand now and saying this is what happened that night. But of course, the defense is going to be like, well, you ain't said that before. Why are you saying it now? As a person that tells stories online, a lot of the times, because sometimes I'm telling a story from eons ago, I have to go back to that place and like relive the situation if I didn't write it down somewhere. So sometimes you do forget details, but as you're having to tell the story again, you're like, oh yes, and then this happened. Like, if you watch any of my videos, you see my face light up like, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot to tell you that part. That's just a natural occurrence. They don't care about that in the courtroom, though. Let me tell you that right now. Okay, the defense does not care about you forgetting to say something, what you should have said it all that day. But the truth of the matter is, we are humans. We forget things, especially if you're somebody that smokes or drinks or, you know, or you have health issues. You will forget things. I forget everything. I forget everything, and I'm just a mom. Okay, if you have any kind of trauma, that will also affect your brain. So that's my situation. Plus, I'm a mom. So, like, my brain, my memory is shot. Okay, like, good luck to me. If you ask me what I had for dinner, baby, I cannot tell you. I literally would have to sit here and think, like, for 20 minutes what I had for dinner last night. And I won't be able to tell you. So, like, short-term memory, no bueno. But of course, if you have an incident like that and you're just the security guard at the hotel and you have this, you two of the biggest stars you'll probably ever see in your life are in a physical altercation, you gonna remember every bit of that night, okay? But yeah, After he took the stand, Daniel Phillip took the stand, and Daniel Phillip was the male stripper / escort. Now, before I get into this part of the video, I just have one damn question. Why the hell are his kids in the building? Because it was reported that his kids, his daughters specifically, had to step out during really graphic parts of the testimony. They should not be there. United front, family, picturesque situation. It does not matter. Those little girls do not need to be there, and neither do his sons. Now, I was always under the impression that the sons were exposed to the lifestyle and the daughters were not. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I'm gathering. Based on that, the little girls, they're already going to hear about this stuff in the media. They shouldn't even have devices right now. They should have no interactions but personal ones with their, closest loved ones and maybe some of their friends. The way that this man's lifestyle has affected his children, specifically his daughters, is just terrible. It's the saddest thing ever, and it's so much more painful for the twins because their mom is gone. They don't have anybody, except for their siblings, but they don't have a mom. She's gone. So when their other parent is going through all these things, how do young girls like that cope, And I don't mean to get emotional, but y'all know I be feeling everything. I just feel so terrible that they have no mother. And they're experiencing these things now, and they're being exposed to these things. It's just so unfortunate, and I feel so bad for his children. But this is the sins of our father. It literally falls onto your children. If you were a terrible person, naturally we pay for our parents or our father's sins. I feel like that's what's happening with the girls and even the boys, and it's just terrible. They really should not be in the courtroom at all. The fact that they even had to walk out because it was too graphic, everybody knows what this man is on trial for. Everybody knows what this trial is about. So why the hell are little girls, whether they're 18 or not, is irrelevant to me. None of his kids should be in there listening to this stuff because it's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's not some white collar crime we're dealing with. Right, this is a racketeering case, and I really just do not believe that the children should be in the room. He claims that when he went to the hotel to meet the people that he was meeting up with, he was greeted by a woman in a red wig and sunglasses. And he initially did not even really realize that he was going there for what he went there for. Which I thought was crazy, because to me that's you're kind of ambushed. But the truth is that a lot of people equate stripping with work when that's not necessarily the case. Now, do some strippers escort as well? Of course. But not all of them do, whether you believe it or not. Some of them are just there to strip, and they don't do any extras. They're not going into the red room with you or whatever it is. They're not leaving with you and doing what. They're not going to turn a trick at the strip club. But it is the pipeline. Okay, so the stripper to escort pipeline is there. Okay, we can't deny that, it's there. Where this guy is concerned, he claims that, Cassie answered the door with a red wig on and sunglasses, and she gave him a few $100. He explains what the room looks like, and he says there was red couches, Astroglide, which we now know is a lubricant. There was a man on the right side of the room. The man had on a white robe and a bandana over his face, below his eyes, and a baseball cap. From his voice, I recognized him as Sean Combs. And that's the thing. Diddy's voice is very distinct. I think my voice is very distinct as well. But Diddy definitely has a really distinct voice. So does 50 Cent. There's some people that cannot hide. You hear their voice and you know it's them. Now, this escort said that he visited Cassie and Diddy a few times after the first initial meeting with them, and they used baby oil every time. Now, if you remember during the raid, they had gotten over 1,000 bottles of baby oil from Diddy's house. It was at that point I think everybody realized this is not no normal freaky stuff. This was just beyond us, 1,000 bottles of baby oil, because in our minds we know a bottle of baby oil literally lasts you a lifetime. Like, your baby oil probably expired in 2010 and you just get into the bottom of that bottle, okay? Like, literally. Baby oil lasts forever. So to hear somebody has 1,000 bottles, it's like, how many bottles are you going through? Like, if you remember when the baby oil situation happened and his lawyer said something on the news, Costco actually said, we do not sell baby oil because... because the lawyer tried to say that Diddy got his baby oil from Costco. No. Costco said, my name is Bennett and I ain't in it, child. My name is Paul and that's between y'all. Okay? Like, that's what he was coming with. Or that's what Costco was coming with. But one thing that was really clear from, you know, Mr. Phillips' testimony was that Diddy was always present and that he was like directing a lot of the time, which means this is more about him than it is about Cassie. People are not reading between the lines. When I read this, I can clearly see that. The comments are letting me know that people are not getting it. Now, even if I did not have my own experience with abuse, I would be able to understand the dynamic here because it's a very obvious one. Whether you start looking at the age gap between Diddy and Cassie and when they started dating and the grooming aspect of it, or the power dynamic in general where it's the money aspect, you can understand what this relationship was. Nobody that is grown needs to read between the lines. They can just see it clear as day. But yet, I'm still seeing these comments from women and men alike that are like, oh, so Cassie is complicit. Cassie was equally as involved as Diddy. And I'm like, how are y'all getting that? This girl was never with Daniel Phillip without Diddy present. So how does that work? And then on top of that, the things that Daniel Phillip is saying about the dynamic or what he experienced between Diddy and Cassie, the things that he witnessed, it's clear to me that he was almost like a fly on the wall with their relationship because he was getting the most vulnerable parts of them. And because Diddy was always present, and because prior to Cassandra being with Diddy, she was with Ryan Leslie. And Diddy actually stole her, allegedly, from Ryan Leslie. And I think I talked about this on my channel before because I went to Ryan Leslie's concert when I was in Toronto. And when he was going to play Diamond Girl, the entire audience was chanting F Cassie, F Diddy, because she left Ryan Leslie for Diddy. Hindsight is always 20/20 because at that time, the people in the audience that were chanting those things did not know the situation between Cassie and Diddy and Ryan Leslie, right? They didn't know how Diddy wound up with Cassie. Of course, they are thinking she just up and left Ryan Leslie out of nowhere for the more rich, more successful, more famous person because she's a gold digger. But I don't think that that's what happened at all. From what I've heard from other people in the industry where Diddy's concerned is that he's just really intense and he's just not somebody you say no to. Like Russell Brand, I think, was talking about that. There was like a behind the scenes or an interview about Get Him to the Greek and how, you know, the things that happen when you're kind of with Diddy, like he's just like super duper intense and you don't say no to him because you can't. Like he kind of corners you in a way. And so to hear grown men say this and women, it's like everybody can't be lying, you know? Like people are just not comfortable saying no to him because he's so intense. The only person that I have seen successfully tell Diddy no was Fab and Jadakiss in that interview, and that interview lives rent-free in my head. If you haven't watched it, you need to go watch it. But just type in Diddy Fabulous Jadakiss on YouTube and you will see what I'm talking about, okay? They don't want to party with Diddy, so they had to tell him no. So in Daniel Phillips' testimony, he says that Diddy was telling them they don't have enough baby oil on. He would tell them to slow down and to separate from each other. So he's literally telling them what to do. In New York, I'm pretty sure prostitution is illegal. So yes, the state is building their case. And so when people are coming with the questions like, well, if Daniel Phillips saw this and that but didn't call the police, why didn't he call the police? Because he knew who he was dealing with. And also, he's already doing something that's illegal. He himself is doing something illegal. He cannot escort in the state of New York, as far as I know, right? Like, that is prohibited. So obviously, he's not going to be like, hi, I would like to report a crime. Yes, I was in the act of doing a crime when I saw this crime taking place. It's not happening. Like, use the 2 brain cells God gave you, rub them together, and get it through your head that this is just not a normal situation. If you are there in the hotel room, busting it open, and you know you're getting paid for the service, and you know that that's illegal, you witness now an assault during this thing. How do you report that? Oh, so what were you doing in the hotel room again? Yeah, you're going to jail. Book him, Danny. Book him, Danny. Like, that's what's gonna happen. If you tried to report a crime while you were reporting a crime, baby, they's locking you up. So I understand completely why Philip would never have called the police or reported any crimes. On top of that, he did say that at one point he understood that he was being threatened because Diddy took a picture of his driver's license, which means he knows what he looked like, he knows where he live at. Baby, if he wanted to find him because any information got out, he definitely could. This is an intimidation tactic. I don't get what people are not getting. If you are doing something with somebody, okay, whether it's a crime or not, and they ask you for your license and they take a picture of it and they're not a damn insurance broker or something of that nature, what the hell you need my license for? But it's to protect themselves, especially if you're just going to some random hotel and you're not signing an NDA, because in his testimony, he's clearly stating that at first they tried to disguise themselves, but they could not. Like, obviously, Diddy's going to try to disguise himself, because why would Diddy, the Puff Daddy, be calling a male escort to have relations with his girlfriend? Does it even sound right? No, it doesn't. From the outside looking in, I always thought that Diddy and Cassie were in a long-term relationship. I never would have anticipated that he was beating on her. Did I think he probably cheated here and there? Yes and no. I never saw Diddy as desirable. When he was with Cassie, it really just looked like it was just them against the world. It did not appear to me that this was the case. Like, I could have seen a lot of things, like, wouldn't have surprised me in terms of like a celebrity relationship, but this just goes to this like weird extreme that it's almost unfathomable. On the surface, they really just look like a normal age gap couple, you know, with just more money than the average person. I did think that when Cassie was with him, she was with him for the money. I thought she loved him, but I definitely thought that she was with him because it's beneficial. But it's not beneficial if you're getting beaten or coerced or drugged or taken advantage of or repeatedly abused. Like, to us, of course, it's gonna look beneficial because we never saw Cassie with a black eye. We never heard of anything so crazy. And social media, even back then, was not as popular as it is now. But like, it never made it, it never leaked, it never made it to the tabloids that Diddy was abusing Cassie. Ever. And if it did, correct me. But we've never heard this before until literally last year. I think that's what makes this case so interesting, is that it was just out of nowhere. So, of course, in Mr. Phillips' testimony, he does say that he had witnessed on more than one occasion Diddy attacking Cassie. And he also stated that it would come out of nowhere. Where are these bursts of energy coming from? Why is he all of a sudden attacking her, right? And so, specifically, in one of his testimony, he said there was one incident where he told Cassie B, when I tell you come over, you come over. So it looks like Cassie didn't want to do the freak off, and so she was trying to not come over to do the freak off, but she had to because he gets aggressive, he gets loud and intimidating. And so she knows, based on her lawsuit, if you didn't read the 1,000-page lawsuit, like if you didn't read that, then you're not going to understand that everything that this escort is saying aligns with what she put in her lawsuit against Diddy. It makes it make sense. In her lawsuit against Diddy, she described what she went through, and a lot of it was omitted. Remember, it was, I think, originally 60 pages and they condensed it to 30, but like it was long and I read every word. And when I finished reading it, I was just like, my heart was just hurting for her because she went through so much. And in this lawsuit, she detailed that when she would try to leave, this is abuse 101. Like, please understand, when she would try to leave, he would literally send for her and they would come and get her, his security team. Everybody's complicit. And this is why it's a racketeering case, because she had literally no power. If she tried to leave after he bloodies her, beats her up, blacks her eye, bruises her up, she then would get sent for. They would come and get her and demand that she come back, scare her, use the videos made from the freak offs to tell her she has to come back or Diddy's gonna do X, Y, and Z. So it's a never ending cycle because she's terrified. She doesn't even know how she, first of all, got into the freaky stuff she's into, and now it's gonna be exposed. She's gonna be mortified, embarrassed, traumatized, and she's already traumatized. And so that's why I'm having a really hard time reading the comments under these posts, because it's like, why are you being obtuse? Why are you not understanding the dynamic of abuse? I'm going to get into the defense in a second where Cassie's concerned, because they are really irritating. Like, their opening statement really bothered me, and it's everything that's wrong with the court system where abuse is concerned. But this is also not a domestic violence case. The defense is trying to make this hotel situation seem like an isolated incident when it's not. You know, the thing that happened to her in that hotel hallway was clearly not the first time. You know what I mean? Like, that was not a first incident. And based on her lawsuit and now these testimonies coming, it's clear that this was an ongoing thing. This is why you stay with your abuser for as long as you do, because they're problematic, but also very cunning and convincing. They use tactics to get you to stay with them. And that's clearly, you know, what her experience was. And she's trying to shed light on that, right? But at the same time, there are people that are like not accepting what she's saying. And again, it's either they are also being abused and in that denial stage of the abuse, or they just simply cannot wrap their head around the fact that you can't just leave an abusive relationship. Like, did you guys not watch the movie Enough? Y'all didn't watch that? You can't just leave. And God forbid you have a kid. Or 2 or 3. So then, you know, Daniel Phillips says he also at one point heard Diddy slapping Cassie. So he didn't actually physically see. He walked out in a towel. She ran to me. And then he asked her, why are you staying with this guy? And she told him it was okay. This is, again, abuse 101. A lot of battered women do not believe that they can leave because they've tried. And when they try to leave, they fail and they end up back. And in the narcissist world, they call it hoovering. So you get hoovered back, whether it's by apologies and it seems genuine and these grand gestures to say, I'm sorry. But every time you come back, the person that was abusing you does it 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times worse, because they think that all they have to do now is apologize. And they know that you believe their words more than their actions, because they're showing you in every way that they cannot be trusted. They're showing you in every way that they're going to do it again, yet you still believe what they're going to say. You still believe them because you love them, right? And so it's just this weird experience that unless you've been in that situation, you really do have a hard time understanding it, especially if all of the abuse is not physical, it's just mental or emotional or financial. But Cassie's situation is really an extreme of all of it. She had the emotional abuse, she had the mental abuse, she had the financial abuse, and she's getting a good amount of physical abuse. So she has this world where everything on the power and control wheel, except for probably the part about her kids, because she didn't have any children for Diddy, right? However, he could still use his own kids against her. So when we look at the power and control wheel, we can just see their whole relationship on there, right? And so, of course, it's going to feel for her, in her world, impossible for her to leave him when he has so much power over her, and she's also been groomed for the lifestyle, which we further learn about when she took the stand today and explained that she didn't even know what sex was. She was very innocent when she first got with Diddy, so she hadn't been experience like that to have gone to those, extremes with a partner before. He introduced her to those things and turned her out, so to speak, but also introduced her to drugs. And this to me is a big problem because, one, the drugs are illegal. Even though she's taking them willingly, she's still in this place where this person that is taking care of her doesn't give her really room to say no. Remember, if we pull up that Young Jock interview where Cassie had to shave the side of her head, or where he talks about Cassie's head being shaved, he says something in that interview where he's like, Cassie told him, whatever Sean says. And the way Jock told that story, it was like you could tell he didn't realize what he was doing, or that the story was going to be used in the future out of nowhere. You know what I mean? But like, you could tell that that was a real situation that happened and that it really stuck with him. But I think in his mind at the time, he believed that Cassie really just loved Diddy, and that's why she would shave the side of his head. If he said, you need to do this, she would do it. But the way that Jock told the story, he told it like Cassie was like, almost like she was a robot, you know what I mean? But that's what can happen in an abusive situation. You do as you're told. You don't speak unless spoken to. It's very much a old school parent-child dynamic, even though it's obviously not a parent-child dynamic. And so that's kind of how we have to look at the situation, because she was very young when Diddy was in his 40s or pushing 40 to get with her. There's a 17-year age difference. And that is a red flag in itself. Like, what are you doing talking to somebody 17 years younger than you? Where did he do that at? He got her when she was really pure, so to speak, and doesn't know much about anything, and can convince her he's going to give her, this and that, and he can charm her and then start abusing her. That's how these dynamics work. It's called love bombing, which he did, and then the abuse starts, right? But it's a slow burn sometimes, and other times it's real quick. I found the opening statements of the defense very offensive, but this is why I'm not on jury, baby, because they would have me messed up in there. But that's why during jury selection, they were asking, have you ever experienced, SA and all these things? And, they had to get to the nitty gritty, and because they need to know, are you going to have biases, right? Now, why I was upset about the opening statements was because Teeny Garagos said that while Combs takes full responsibility for his violent behavior, domestic violence is not trafficking. If I could describe the things that I'm hearing, right? The way that so far the witnesses have described Diddy's behavior, from Philip to Cassie now on the stand, the way that they have talked about what Diddy does in the environment, the sex environment, he reads as a overly invested gorilla pimp. Now, why it's so offensive that his lawyer said that domestic violence is not sex trafficking is because, yes, him assaulting her in the hallway was domestic violence. And sure, we can separate that from everything else. But guess what? If Cassie was leaving because she was refusing to keep having with random escorts, or even if it's a repeated escort, that is indeed sex trafficking. If I was not an escort before I met you, and you now have me, I'm thinking I'm in a monogamous relationship with you, and you are now abusing me. If I don't have sex with this person, baby, you are trafficking me. Like, what is so hard to understand about that? I'm reading what the defense is saying, and that opening statement is crazy. Right there, I'm guilty. Okay, that's why I'm not on jury, though, because I would have said guilty. Because are you crazy? Are you dumb? Like, this is why you cannot trust the court with your stuff sometimes, because they don't get abuse of any form. We literally saw him abuse the woman. And I fully understand that that's not why he's on trial. But when you abuse her because she's trying to leave, because she doesn't want to do the things that you're making her do, yeah, baby, that is definitely giving you a little bit of racketeering. But let me continue. So she told the jury that they will hear evidence of Combs' sexual preferences and it may make them uncomfortable, but the panel is not here to judge him for those preferences, which is fine. I don't give a damn if Diddy sleeps with Tom, Dick, Harry, and Mary. Okay, I don't care. Now, they're leaning in to the assault video, and they have no choice, right? They're going to do the best job they can with what they got. And so they call it indefensible. They cannot defend his actions against Cassie in that video because they're clear, blatant, and evidence. There's no defending that, but they are insisting that that is domestic violence and not sex trafficking. And this is really the part that got me, because his lawyer claimed that Cassie made a choice of staying with Combs for 11 years and then made the choice to break up with him on her own terms. Again, it takes a woman up to 7 attempts to leave her abuser. And you might sit there and be like, couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. It's not going to take me 7 attempts. I did not count how many times I actually tried to leave my ex. And I wasn't being hit over the head. But I definitely tried to leave on more than one occasion and got hoovered back in. Now, though there was intimidation there, like I said, I was not getting physically assaulted on a regular basis. So abuse in my mind now is not what abuse was back then, because back then I would think only if somebody's hitting you, you're getting abused. I didn't factor in all these other things. But now, again, hindsight is 2020. So now that I understand what abuse actually is, and I see the mental, emotional, financial, and physical sides of it, I can speak a lot more enlightened about what abuse really looks like, because for every woman or man going through domestic violence, it looks different, right? And so, again, Cassie's situation is an extreme version of it, because there's the money, the power, and then the abuse. Right? And so for Cassie, it looked a lot different because she's going through all these things. And then on top of that, drug use and these trafficking, third parties and fourth parties into these freak offs. When initially, that's not what she signed up for. She thought she's a person that likes monogamy. She likes to be with one person. She's not been introduced to that lifestyle until him. And again, it's not like she was doing this before. So if that was the case and Cassie was an escort before, then obviously, to me, the defense would then be like, listen, Cassie, she was doing this stuff long before Sean came into the picture. He just upped it, right? He just, added to it. But she was an escort before when he found her. So why are we acting surprised that she's still an escort? Or that they were doing things with escorts when that was her lifestyle. It wasn't her lifestyle. And then after she leaves him, she's in a monogamous, committed relationship and now is a mother and married. Those are the things that clearly she desired. She obviously at one point would have thought she was going to get that from Sean, but didn't get it. And also realized, She probably don't want to get that from him because he sees he's got 11 kids with multiple baby mothers. And like she at one point or another was like, yeah, I don't want to have kids with this person because they're already very abusive. So if I do have kids with him, he's going to get worse. And I'm tied to him for life. So she definitely dodged a bullet as being one of the longest relationships he's had. But in turn, no child came out of that. But for the defense to say she had a choice, you don't have a choice to leave a relationship if when you leave, they come and get you and beat you for leaving and then make you stay in the house or put on extra makeup because his kids can't see you that way. Like, what choice did she have? She literally had to have support to leave. And that's what it is with abusive relationships. And again, this is why I can't be on jury now because I'd be up there sobbing, boo-hooing. You don't have a choice. You need support to leave. And if you are not sharing with people what you're going through, you can't leave. You can't leave. Cassie being introduced to her personal trainer who then becomes her husband and baby father, right? When it comes to that situation, that was her support to leave. Up until she met that man, I don't think she was ever seeing a way out of that relationship. But he literally got her up out of the house, okay? You can't just leave without support. The support I got and the awakening that I got was through therapy. Right? Things were said to me prior, okay? People definitely were like, you need to leave. You need to leave. You need to leave. Literally, I was being told that I needed to leave. I just didn't know how. And then I said, I literally got on the internet and Googled it. And to this day, I can't tell you what the frig the website was that I ended up on. I just remember it being like purple. And through therapy, I was able to leave. But that was my support. But you cannot just up and leave an abusive relationship because you've had enough. That's how the movie Enough kind of makes it seem. But she literally had to disguise herself. She hired a body double. Like, that movie is realistic and unrealistic at the same time, but still good quality content. Like, I just love that movie. I've seen that movie a million times. But like, you know, what's so funny is even in watching movies like that over and over again, when you're in an abusive situation, you don't reference that movie until after the fact. You know, you're like, oh, damn. Yeah. He did kind of switch up after the baby. You know what I mean? Like, because that's how it was. The first time in that movie, my mom is showing me my corset that I made. She wanted me to portray Nita with these nails. Please. No, it's okay. I'm alright. I can do anything. So I definitely feel like the defense could have found better wording. I mean, you are a lawyer. You could have found much better wording, but I feel like she's minimizing the abuse, even though she's saying, you know, he's fully responsible for that. No, because if we all recall, when Cassie first alleged, he denied it, and then the footage leaked, and then he apologized. So which is it? You know, like, which is it? He's not fully accountable for nothing. He does not regret that. He regrets getting caught. But like, pride and ego, because if they would have just, baby, this would have all gone away, you know. But you know, life is funny that way. Those are my thoughts kind of summarized for day 1 of trial. But day 2 of trial, which is currently ongoing, I mean, by the time I finish recording this video, there's probably going to be more that I'm going to have to talk about on another day. I am going to be covering the story, so you'll get more B with the T's based around this topic, because, you know, the trial is something that everybody is interested in. I think one of the things that's really standing out to me is the fact that during the testimony yesterday of the male escort, he talked about the whole golden showers thing, right? And I'm just going to call it that for the purpose of this video because I don't want to have to do too much editing. So if you don't know what a golden shower is, you can Google it. This was one of the posts that I saw that people were, you know, ready to like pick a fight with Cassie because the guy said that it was actually Cassie who requested that he do that to her. If we back it up a little bit, we remember Young Miami mentioning that as well. So this is clearly something that allegedly Mr. Combs is into. Now, the way that this guy described the situation, I'm still perplexed as to how people are not reading between the lines. Because though Cassie was the one that asked him to do it, I'm sorry, I'm gonna puke. I can't. He did continue and say that they both were directing him after the fact. Like, Diddy was saying to him that he's not doing it properly or whatever, and that he's not supposed to let it all out at once. It's supposed to be ew, I can't even say, oh my god, like, yeah, if I was his daughter, I would have walked out too, because, like, what? You been pissing on people? R. Kelly? No. See, Diddy and Kels need to be in the same damn cell, because what the hell is this? Like, and so, it would be one thing if, again, Diddy was not present when these things were happening, but Diddy was always present. He also said, you're not doing it properly, when it was Cassie that told the guy to do it. Now, in an abusive dynamic, you are going to be told to do X, Y, and Z, and you are going to follow the damn protocol, okay? So they could have had a side conversation, and he told her, you needed to go out there and tell him he needs to do this to you. So she did. Obviously, I'm just going based on what I think, right? I can't prove this unless Cassie says it today on the stand that he told me that that's what he likes. I've never done that before. He introduced me to that, and I was supposed to do it, or I would get a black eye. You know what I mean? Like, it was, to me, it's clear that this is not something that Cassie just wanted done to her. No woman wants that unless they have some serious issues, like serious issues. I feel like if you are willing to do that to someone, or want to do it to someone, or want it done to you, you have some deep rooted issues. That's beyond freaky, baby, because your bodily fluids, your excrements are supposed to go to one place and one place only, unless it's in the toilet, not onto somebody. Like, where do we draw the line, okay? Like, where do we draw the line at what's freaky and what's not? Because that, to me, is not freaky, it's nasty. A lot of lube, a lot of baby oil, I can look past. But, like, I feel like if you will do that to somebody, you would probably be into, like, necrophilia. Like, that's just how I feel, though. I don't know. I think it's crazy. If she didn't leave this relationship and go to her husband and be like, can you do this for me? Because this is what I like now. If she's not into that still, that means she was literally only doing it to appease this person, because if she didn't, violence would follow. And that's what people need to understand. That's how abuse works, okay? So, yeah, you're gonna do what you think you're supposed to do in that situation to keep that person happy, but you often don't even know why you're doing that. And so, again, if you've never been in that position, then, you know, what I'm saying to you makes no sense, and I just sound crazy. I sound like an idiot, but it is what it is. You could talk to many abused women, and they're gonna tell you the same thing. They probably don't know why they were doing that, and they do feel stupid. Like, the things I've done, I'm like, that was so dumb. Like, wow. Stupid, you know what I mean? Like, shamefully so. Like, you really do just feel like a lot of regret and shame sometimes, right? But it is what it is. Once you get to a certain age, you realize, yeah, I probably wouldn't, not even I know who I am, so I don't do things like that anymore. It was like an isolated incident, you know what I mean? And a lot of the time too, when you're with somebody for as long as you are with them, you have this certain level of trust. And if you don't have a level of trust with them, you have a certain level of fear as to why you would be consistently in this pattern of abuse, because you know there's consequences for your actions if you're not doing the things that you are told to do. Now, fast forward to today, and the judge was, I guess, going back and forth with whether or not he's going to allow certain video or images to be seen by the media for reporting purposes, and it looks like he's going to grant the request to show the media, even if it's in like a private setting, because I don't think that the media is supposed to get a hold of a copy of the tape, but they can definitely describe in graphic detail what is on this alleged tape. Now, during cross-examination today, because Daniel Phillip was finishing his testimony, the defense tried to like accuse or suggest that he liked Cassie and like tried to like poke holes in his story and claim that he wanted to take Cassie away from Diddy. That's not even a realistic thing, because if this couple is paying this man for his services, why would a woman that has access to that kind of money leave for a male escort? It's not even a realistic way to poke a hole in this man's story. If I was the jury, I would be looking at that lawyer like, you're really dumb. Like, honestly, that's how I would be looking at the lawyer, because I'm just like, really? You think that guy would think that he even had a chance with Cassie, knowing that he is getting paid for a service? Like, huh? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me, okay? Now, the guy does state that he was attracted to Cassie, but he definitely was not trying to steal her away from Diddy or anything of that nature. He did state, though, that obviously if he had a chance to date her, that he would, but he is fully aware that she would never give him the time of day. So that was not his MO. Anyway, the defense to me so far is not making Diddy look any better than he did last year. So far, I don't think that it's really like shaken up. The case to me is still very even. You know, I see public opinion switching in the comments. I am seeing support for Cassie, so that is good, but I definitely am also seeing the people fully against it, or saying that she was enjoying the lifestyle and the stuff that she got in return for these freak-offs and whatever. Now, Cassie taking the stand is obviously a big deal, but Combs' attorneys tried to request that Cassie's husband not be present for her testimony. Crazy. To me, what they're trying to do is break her a bit, because she's pregnant. She has this support system in there with her while she has to recount this while pregnant. You know how much emotions you're going through while you're pregnant? And they're trying to say that her husband can't be in the room? Absolutely the frig not. It's not like he's her boyfriend or no. That's her husband and the father of her children. He can be in the room. Now they're saying, oh, he might be called as a witness later. Does not matter. Make him stay. Okay? They pretty much came to a happy medium. And the judge stated that when the questions are turning to a RAPE from 2018, that is when the husband must leave the room, because he will be called as a witness. So we're going to also hear from Cassie's husband, Alex Fine, during this trial. The trial to me is just getting started, but I am more curious to know what was on the hard drives from the house, and I'm more interested in that stuff. To me, the whole Cassie situation, because they did their little settlement, and that was not done criminally, it was done like a civil case. To me, I feel like they were just using this to kind of paint a picture as to what kind of person that Sean is, and then use it to back up their story when they bring forth the second victim, or alleged victim, the Jane Doe. In Cassie's testimony today, she definitely confirms everything I said earlier in the video. I said it is definitely sex trafficking if I try to leave and you are trying to keep me there because I don't want to participate in your freak off. That means you're trafficking me now, because I said, no, this is not consensual. I'm not dealings. I don't want to be here. And you're still trying to make me stay? Sir, you are trafficking me. Like that's literally what it is. Cassie states that. She says, that day I was trying to leave from a freak off, and he literally wasn't letting me. She also states in her testimony that he controlled a lot of her life. A big part of that was her career, but he even controlled the way she looked, the way she dressed, which Jock confirmed that as well. He said she has to shave her head. She did it. She claims that at that time she didn't have a lot of say. So this also is very much in alignment with what it is to be in an abusive relationship of that nature, where you are with a controlling person and they don't want you to wear what you want to wear or dress how you want to dress, do your hair how you want to do. You have to do everything the way they like it because you are their possession. You're not looked at as like a human being, another person, or that you even matter. You are literally just something or an object for them to use at their discretion. That's why they treat you so badly, because they don't have it in their heart or their mind that you're a real person with real feelings. Only your abuser's feelings matter. So if you do something that is offensive to the abuser, you will pay. That's just what it is. Now, in Cassie's testimony, she is saying that the longest freak off that she recalls went on for 4 days straight. I'm sorry, baby. 4 days of that? How do you mentally get back to reality? Like, especially if there's drugs and alcohol and then just a lot of sex with a lot of different people or whatever the case may be. Like, how do you have so much sex? Like, would you not be sore? Like, I think that's why the baby oil and the Astral Glide is there, because you're going to be here for a while and you need to be able to perform, right? And so naturally, especially if a woman is turned off, you don't secrete. You don't naturally lube. Like, if you're turned on, of course, you're going to naturally have those lubricants. But if you're not, yeah, you're going to need the damn Astral Glide, because you're being forced to do stuff. And then you're also not having sex with people that you want to have sex with. But if you're on ecstasy, obviously, you know, you might be more willing to participate in those things because it alters your mood. It alters the way you feel. So yeah, if you pop some ecstasy and you drink some champagne, you might be more freaky feeling and more willing to have sex with a random person because you're on drugs. But if you're sober and your man comes to you and says, hey babe, call that man with the big schlong, it's time to get it on. You be like, excuse me? I'm not doing that. You might even break up with him, because what are you talking about? But this is not that. It's not so simple. It's not so black and white when dealing with an abusive partner that also just happens to be loaded, just happens to be very violent. Like, Diddy has like the worst of it. Because if I recall the R. Kelly situation, I don't recall anybody describing R. Kelly as like super violent. Like, I don't remember any of the girls really saying that he would like assault them. Can you guys correct me if I'm wrong? Like, I don't think he was like blacking people's eyes, and you know, he was doing some weird stuff, and most of the stuff was with underage people, or a lot of the grooming and things of that nature, but like no like super like physical abuse where he's stomping people out. Like, it's not the same as Diddy's situation. So we have just this monster with too much money, too many resources, violent. He gets bursts of anger. He's on drugs. He's doing alcohol as well. And, you know, he's just really taking it too far where sex is concerned. And then I can't really put myself in Cassandra's exact shoes, because I think her situation was on such an extreme. But there's literally people, women, you know, in this world that have gone through similar situations as Cassie for literally way less of a caliber man than Diddy. You know what I mean? Like, I could probably scroll my timeline right now and see 4 different escorts from Toronto that have dealt with some random boy from Toronto that probably got them into escorting, and he ain't had no money like that. Like, they trick you into thinking you're going to be making money and kind of like turn you into a telly ting, and you become their bottom bee and all these things. You really don't even have to have a lot of money or resources to start abusing somebody in this way. I've seen it time and time again. I think when you add Diddy's bank accounts and his actual reach, because the people that I just described from Toronto, like, they don't have pull or reach. They literally just have the girl that they're going to put in the hotel, and she's going to be making all the money. But as the gorilla pimp, he's going to take all that money from her and give her what she needs, what he deems that she needs. So it's abusive either way. Whereas Diddy is coming already with the cash. The guys from Toronto are broke and doing it. Okay, like that's a different level of I don't even know what. Diddy is coming from this place of just so much power. And that is why the dynamic is messed up to begin with. That being said, Cassie states that the freak offs literally became a job. I don't even understand why. He must be taking Viagra, because I don't understand why his libido is so damn high. Like, he's actually perverted. It's not even libido at this point. It's perversion. What kind of kink is this? I don't even know. Like, is this a kink? This is beyond kinky. I don't know what this is. I really don't. Like, it's sick. Like, to go for 36 to 48 hours doing this, or 4 days doing this, and you're just in the corner stroking yourself or giving directives while your girlfriend is doing stuff with a male escort. I'm perplexed. That being said, Cassie testified that she often had to spend a lot of time recovering from dehydration, fatigue, and of course the drug use, which is a given. Yeah, you're gonna probably need a banana bag after doing that for 36 to 40. A natural session of intercourse with your partner is not going on for 48 hours. Like, it's just not happening. You probably got you a good 15 minutes on a good date, especially if you're married. But like an hour or two, 36 hours? No, ma'am. I will have to sew my coochie shut. That's crazy. 36 hours? I don't even want it 2 days back to back. Like, what are you talking about? Like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe Saturday. But the coochie needs a break. 36 hours is baloney. Like, that's just crazy. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I don't know any woman that could do that. That is a marathon. But again, drug use, alcohol, coercion. That is the recipe for 36 hours of sex. Cassie also testified that, there would be times where she would just accidentally maybe make a face that he didn't like, and before she knew it, she was getting hit in the face, which kind of goes with what other guy had been saying, which was that there would be these bursts out of nowhere where he would be attacking her or dragging her by her hair. I'm wondering, oh my God, if Diddy made Cassie shave the side of her head because he had pulled her hair so bad she had a bald spot. Like, that's just what's coming to my head right now, because it was so random that he made her shave her head. But then Young Jock did say he saw a white lady at the club that had the side of her head shaved, and that's what inspired Diddy to tell Cassie that. But I'm wondering now if that's really the case. She also alleged something that I've heard before, is he calls you insistently. So if you don't answer the phone, he will call you a million times, leave you voicemails, text messages, whatever it is. Like, he's like obsessive that way. Claudia Jordan also shared that story. So she still has the phone where he literally called her, I think, 75 times because they took a picture and ended up on like Media Take It or something. And it was just messy, and he wanted it gone off the internet because whoever posted it to Media Take Out stole it from her MySpace and was being messy with it. So he called her and pretty much was like, being crazy. And so and then Kalina, was it Kalina or Dawn? One of the Danity Kane people also stated that like he was blowing up their phone. So based on that, I think that also rings true with what Cassie's saying here, which was that if she didn't respond to his call right away, that's what he would do. But also his security personnel and other people that work for him would go out of their way to contact her if she didn't answer her phone or if she didn't show up when she was supposed to show up. Like, literally, he believes, allegedly, that he owns you if you are dating him. In her testimony, she also stated that Diddy expected her to be monogamous to him, so she also assumed that he was monogamous with her. Maybe that's what I assumed too, But like I was stating earlier, that I figured he cheats on her somehow, but because I don't see anybody, I just thought Diddy was like not something that anybody wanted. I don't know, but I obviously see that that's not the case, because even recently, I mean, Young Miami was with him, but like the women that go for Diddy typically are going for him for financial purposes. He's not like, you know, an Idris Elba or something, like where people want to just date him because he's handsome. Diddy doesn't seem like that type. And one of the reasons why I always thought that people didn't want him was because he's so unserious. He has all those kids and baby mamas and doesn't marry any of them. So kind of like Drake, right? Like, well, he doesn't have any, he has one child, one baby mama, but he's not desirable in the sense that I can't see Drake settling down with anybody. Like, he don't give me family man. He don't give me married man. I see Diddy the same way, which most women desire that fullness, right? That relationship where it's marriage and children and white picket fence. A lot of women desire that when they are dating somebody long term. And so if you look at Diddy and you're like, Diddy would never give me that, so I'm not even going to play with that if he were to approach me to date. You know what I mean? That's probably what a lot of women, grown women, are thinking. But he got Cassie so young that he could date her for 10 years and give her nothing, literally nothing. That being said, Diddy definitely told her it was a them thing and he was only dealing with her. But like she stated in her testimony, that was not the case. Cassie also stated that she recorded hundreds of songs and they never got released or saw the light of day, while others would leak online. So again, remember, he's promised her career things or things for her career, and those things did not pan out. That being said, she says most of the time that she spent with him was spent doing freak offs. She stated that most of the time was so occupied by that she didn't really have time to do anything else but recover to try to feel normal again. And I think that that is such a sad reality of her situation, because I don't believe that anybody should go through stuff like this. Like, it's just beyond me. Now, one of the things that's really like upsetting me and my homegirls is that the freak-offs were done at the hotel. Now, I know, well, some of the freak-offs were at her house, some were at his house, and then a lot were done at hotels. I know people are getting down and dirty in the hotel. I know that. And I know that the hotel is not doing their due diligence of washing these sheets properly, okay? If you don't drag them sheets and leave them on the floor, the hotel's just making the bed. Okay, nasty. Now, you are supposed to bring disposable sheets, disposable bed sheets, disposable pillowcases to the hotel these days, because yes, people are doing all kinds in the hotel room, right? Some people book a hotel room literally just for that. But it is actually disgusting, because in her testimony, she testifies that if they ran out of Astroglide, they would call the staff or pay somebody at the front desk to go get it. Could you imagine calling downstairs and be like, oh, can you go to the pharmacy and get some Astroglide for us? Because we ran out. We've been going at it for 24 hours now. We need more Astroglide. Like, this is humiliating. Like, it's absolutely humiliating. And reliving it must be, like, terrible. Okay? The prosecution is asking Cassie if there was lighting in the freak-offs. And she said usually it was candlelit, really strong smelling Glade candles. So then they asked her if there's any other use for the candle wax. She said sometimes it'd be poured on my body. Now, I know he was not pouring no Glade scented candle on her. That is not the type of candle wax you pour on somebody's body for those reasons. Like, they literally have special candles for that, but whatever. They also asked who set the temperature for the room. Cassie says, Sean, I was expected to do freak offs on my period. Then they asked her, did you want to do that? She said no. And that is another thing that is very common with pimps in Toronto. I've heard a pimp say, that don't stop no show. You shove 2 tampons up there. And it? Like, what? Did you want to be urinated on? Objection. And the judge is like, grounds. And then defense asked and answered. Judge overruled. No, I did not want it. They asked her how it felt, and she said it was disgusting. It was too much. I choked. No one could think I wanted it. I'm glad she's asked this question. I'm glad that she's answered answered this question. I don't know if I can report anymore, child. So they asked her, why were you choking? She said, too much in my mouth. Who else on you? Sean. Did you want Sean to on you? I didn't want anyone to on me. How often did it happen? Often enough. I think she's doing real good on the stand. So they asking her a lot of questions, and back to like her albums that never got released. She said that 9 of her projects were not released, and she had a 10 album contract. Is this not a breach? Like, I'm confused. They asked her if she got paid for those 9 albums. The answer was no. And so I think one of the biggest parts of her testimony to kind of really show the grooming aspect of the relationship was what is the age difference between them. And she, she said 17 years. But then they asked her how she felt when he invited her to hotels. She also talked about how the first time he kissed her, it was in a bathroom, and she ran back and told Carrie Morgan after it happened. And then when he would invite her to the hotel, she claimed she felt nervous and excited, and she said that they were going to talk about music, but he then introduced her to oral, which that ain't music, child. So she said that she was confused, but this is grooming. I think that yes, it is only day 2 of trial. However, I feel like we're not seeing anything new, so to speak. I mean, it was good to hear from the 2 other witnesses so far, and we are still only on day 2 of trial, so I'm sure there's more to come. But as of right now, unless this case has some extreme secrets that we don't know about that are going to come to light, I think I'm, excited to hear from the Jane Doe. But really, unless it does, I don't necessarily, at this point in time, I don't see him going to prison for some extended period of time if the jury indeed does find him guilty. I think Cassie's testimony is great. I think that the other 2 testimonies we've heard from are also great. I think that, Cassie being able to tell her story and say, listen, I was never into this stuff. This is the lifestyle that he introduced me to, and because he was abusive, I was forced to do these things and take these drugs and blah, 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 blah. But if you look at my life now, you can see that this is not a reoccurring theme. I don't still do drugs. I'm a mom and a wife, and that's my desire, It's only because this person was abusing me in this way that I felt that I had to, and I didn't realize that at some point or another, I'm going to have to leave because the abuse is so bad. And I'm doing things that I don't want to do because I'm afraid he's going to kill me or just hurt me really badly if I don't comply. And so at that point, yes, it could still be racketeering, but is it just one person that, we're looking at? Or even if it's just 2 people, I just don't see right now in this moment Diddy going away for a long time. But I am definitely open to seeing where else this case goes. So they ask her, did you visit Sean in Miami? She says, yes, I went with Carrie Morgan and Dallas Austin. What did you and Sean do together? We had intercourse. He gave me blue dolphin ecstasy on a boat. So then prosecution asked her, had you once before taken ecstasy unintentionally? She says, yes. So they ask her, how did you take it unintentionally? She says, it was in Gatorade. When you took it intentionally with Sean, how did it feel? She said, like rolling. What does that mean? At the time, what did you think? That we were spending a lot of time together. I feel like I needed more conversation there. When they ask her about it being unintentionally in Gatorade, why do they not elaborate more on that point? How did she know it was in the Gatorade, and who told her it was in the Gatorade, and who gave her the Gatorade. Like, why are we skipping over that? I need to know how the Gatorade came into play. Like, the Gatorade could have been from any time, anywhere. Like, what? I need to know about the Gatorade. Or did this person that's reporting, Inner City Press, not give us all those details because he has to move so fast in the courtroom? So these are the type of comments that I'm talking about. Like, somebody in the comments said she met him at 21 and didn't know what head was. Ma'am, please. She met the man at 19. Let's get our information correct, first of all. Second of all, just because you had a fast tail at whatever the hell age and you knew about head doesn't mean everybody did, okay? Or if they did know about it, they never were with somebody that they did that with. She was inexperienced. I know people that is 30 right now and still ain't had their eggs cracked. So what are we talking about? You know, obviously they know that those things are what they are, but they're 30. They should know. So of course, when they ask her about, you know, freak offs, she explains what that means, the hiring of an escort, blah, 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 setting it up. How did you feel when he first asked for it? She said, confused, nervous. I wanted to make him happy. She said, did you agree to one when he first proposed one? She said, yes. Then there were more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not that frequently. Pretty much saying, like, once he opened that door to it, it's not that she was not, you know, willing in a sense, because she thought it would make him happy. But obviously, you know, when you let somebody get away with something the first time, they're going to keep coming back and doing it more and more and more, and aggravatedly so, right? So to me, that's kind of what it was. It's grooming a little bit. They just sprinkle a little bit here and then see if you're going to go for it. If you go for it, they're going to turn it up all the way up, okay? With her saying she didn't want to do that so frequently, to me that's how that reads. Maybe she thought he wanted to try something out, but she didn't realize that opening that door was going to be like every day 36-hour sessions. Like, she didn't realize after the first one that it was just going to turn into, that's what our relationship is now. And that's kind of, you know, where that went. But she also elaborates on that and says she didn't know what saying no would mean. I asked her, what do you mean? She says, making him angry. Prosecution says, what were you afraid would happen if you said no? Through time, he had blackmail materials. And so they asked her, what did you give the government? She says, laptops. So Inner City Press is doing real good live tweets. Okay, they asked Cassie which hotel charged the most damage to the room. She said the Intercontinental in New York. They redecorated the whole room for ridiculous money. So then the prosecution says back to the urination. The judge says, Miss Johnson, only a few more questions. So they ask her, why didn't you say no? She said, it was obvious I didn't want to be on the ground being on by two men. So then they ask her, where did you find escorts? She says, initially Craigslist. Wild. Wild. Craigslist is not, first of all, y'all know my relationship with Craigslist, Kijiji. But like, same thing. Nothing good can come from Craigslist or Kijiji, I'm telling you right now. So then they ask, which cities did you respond to ads on Craigslist? She says, in New York. Did you respond to ads on Backpage as well? She said, yes. Who directed you to communicate with escorts? Defense. Objection! So then, prosecution says, who, if anyone, defense, same objection, assumes a fact not in evidence. Did you ever reach out to escort independently? No. Did you ever not use an escort who arrived? One couldn't perform, so Sean sent him on. What was a safe escort? Not a cop, and someone who'd not run and tell anyone about their experience with us. Why not a cop? I learned this whole situation was not legal. Defense. Objection. Judge, jury will disregard that last answer. First of all, that's also why I couldn't sit on the jury, because what do you mean I heard them? I'm not going to disregard nothing. I'm listening intently. Yeah. So prosecution asks, how did Cash get there? She says, security, or he brought it himself. So then they ask her, the escort, Dave, do you know his real name? She said, Clayton Howard. Who is this? They show her a photo. She says, Daniel. Then they said, what service did you use? She says, a dancer service. Then they ask her, do you recognize Jules? She says, yes. In what city did you have freak-offs with Jules? She said, New York, Los Angeles, and Vegas. Do you know his last name? No. Who is this? She said, I knew him as the Punisher. Not y'all got, what's that? Is Punisher DC or Marvel character? When prosecution asked her, were you ever handed a gun? I'm seeing repeat offender, because if you know about the situation where the lady got shot in the head with J-Lo, Diddy, and Shine and went to prison for it, girl, who had a gun in their purse as well, allegedly? Miss J-Lo. Okay, so this is repeat behavior. If your man has a weapon, he will most definitely tell you to put it in your purse. Clock the T. She says, yes, we were going to a club in downtown LA. We'd taken mushrooms. I was high. I was told to put the gun in my bag. I was freaking out. Prosecution said, who was present? She said, a driver, security, and Sean. Another time, I saw them get dressed and grab guns and leave in an SUV. They said, how long were they gone? She said 30 or 40 minutes. Prosecution says, let me switch topics. How soon in the relationship did Sean mention voyeurism to you? Ventura, first 6 months or a year. How old were you? She said 22. Why did you agree to try a freak off? Good question. I wanted to make him happy. Where was the first freak off? One of his homes in Los Angeles. Then they ask her, who is this? They say the first escort. Do you know his name? No. I'll call him the first escort. Were you aware he was paid? Yes. To dance and to have intercourse with me. What drugs did you take? Ecstasy and alcohol before things started. Did you disguise your appearance? Sean said we would disguise ourselves. I wore a masquerade mask. What was a session in a freak off? Until the escort finished. How many sessions with the first escort? At least 2. How did you feel? I was high, so I didn't feel much. Dirty and confusion, and he was happy with me. Why did you feel you couldn't say no? I didn't want to make him angry or upset after he'd shared this part of himself with me. How frequently did the freak-offs become? Weekly for a consistent amount of years. When was your last one? 2017, 2018. How long were you awake during the freak-offs? I never slept. I took drugs. Ecstasy, Molly, and cocaine. This is so sad. Like, actually. Do you recall all of the freak-offs? She said that would be impossible. They asked her if she wants to stop. She said yes. I was humiliated. I didn't have those words then. I couldn't talk to anyone about it. And she starts crying. Did you tell him you didn't want to? Yes. I brought it up gently. I didn't want him to just do it with someone else. Were you able to express your concerns to him? The defense says, objection, leading. The judge says, rephrase. A prosecution says, why would you talk to him gently? Ventura, I didn't want him to be angry. They say, what is this? And then she says, an email between me and Sean. What did you call him? Pop Pop. Why? He asked me what I called my grandfather. Oh, this man is sick. I can't. I did it, but now I think it was disrespectful. Earlier in this video, I had said it's like a parent and child dynamic that it was given why he groomed her the way he did. Because why did you want this girl to call you the name that she calls her grandfather? Disturbing. What did you write? So Cassie says, I really need to F. They say, why did you write that? She said, because I wanted to be with him. They said, I'll read your messages, you read yours. So the prosecution is now reading the emails as Sean. He says, you don't want to do anymore? She says, I'm so predictable. What do you think this meant? That he knew I didn't want to do the freak-offs anymore, but then I backpedaled. They said, why? She said, to not make him angry. He could be violent. Where'd you get your outfit? Pleasure chest, elsewhere. Did you get piercings? Yes, Sean came with me. Which one of his homes did you have freak outs in? Miami, New York. What other homes? My homes, but all but Studio City. In what other cities? Atlanta, Ibiza. In what hotels in New York did you have freak-offs? Trump, Gramercy, Intercontinental, 44th Street, yes. Elsewhere, Mandarin Oriental, Fontainebleau. What names were used? Jackie Star. I used Frank Black. What supplies for freak-off? Astroglide, baby oil, condoms. Who brought the supplies? Security, Sean's assistants. What brand of baby oil? Johnson's. How was it used? Sean said, you need to be glistening. Were there freak-offs where you ran out of baby oil? Defense says, objection. Your Honor, this is irrelevant. You also mentioned Astroglide. Defense, same objection. Irrelevant. The judge calls for sidebar. So the prosecution asked, did you use drugs at every freak-off? She said, yes. I needed to disassociate and become emotionless. Who else used drugs at freak-offs? Sean did, but sometimes the escort. What other drugs did you use? Special K, GHB, mushrooms. Then they say, I'll read Sean's part of this email, you read you. So Ventura, Cassie says, when should I take the thing? When will you be here? There. The prosecution pauses her and they said, what did you mean? And then Cassie's like, drugs. So then Sean says in the email, I took mine. I'm flying. Then they ask her, what does he mean? And she says, he's high. Like I said, Cassie is still testifying. So as of right now, I'm going to cut this video off. And you guys, I will see probably tomorrow to continue Cassie's testimony and see what else they are bringing to the table. In the comment section below, let me know what you guys are thinking. If you guys think that prosecution is dragging it, so to speak, or that they don't necessarily have a case. Do you think Cassie's testimony is enough for the jury to be like, yeah, he guilty? Because essentially, if you are holding somebody against their will and making them do these things, whether they were your girlfriend or not, to me is irrelevant. She did not want to be participating in these things and only did it because of him and, you know, his power and blah, 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 blah. And so is that enough to put him away for as long as they would like to put him away? Probably not, but we will see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I love you all so much, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.